right, let's get right into it. We're here to do a postmortem on Project 359BL, and it's rushed to get that preliminary authority approval. Now, this wasn't a structural failure. It was a digital communication breakdown, one that almost derailed the entire submission. So let's get into the forensics of what happened.
Here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll identify the silent productivity killer that started all this. Then we'll walk through the high-stakes scenario of the project itself. After that, we'll lay out the protocol that ultimately saved the day, and finally, look at the very real consequences of ignoring these rules.
You know, in any major project, we're all trained to look for physical clashes, right? But the most dangerous conflicts, the ones that cause these silent, creeping delays, they're digital. They happen inside the very tools we're supposed to be using to coordinate our work.
And this right here illustrates the core problem perfectly. Our models, they can instantly flag a physical conflict. You know, like the clashes we saw between the columns and those 1.2-meter window panels up on the 27th floor. That's easy to spot. But a workflow clash, a locked central document, that is completely invisible in any 3D model, and it can bring the entire team to a screeching halt. This is the silent killer we're really digging into today: buried data. It's that critical piece of information, that unresolved task that gets lost in all the digital noise. A simple note about a missing structural element, just buried under last week's date, well, it creates a massive risk down the line. It's basically a landmine waiting for someone to step on it right before a deadline.
So let's get into the case study and see exactly how this played out in a real, high-pressure situation. This is where the theory hits the harsh reality of a project deadline.
Okay, so the team was in a mad rush to meet this critical preliminary authority approval deadline of July 15th. Every single hour counted. The pressure was on. Client changes were coming in hot, and coordination was absolutely everything.
And here it is, the critical failure point. Kareem, the senior architect, is completely paralyzed. He has the final facade changes right from the client. We're talking the golden yellow metal specs and the crucial removal of the entrance stairs for step-free access, but he's locked out of the central log. The entire project is at a standstill with the clock ticking down to the deadline. And the reason for this paralysis? It wasn't a server crash. It wasn't a software bug. It was simple human error. Abdullah, the project coordinator, was editing a note about some column layouts. He got distracted by a phone call, and he just left the text highlighted. That one tiny action locked the entire team out of the central task log.
But here's the thing. Getting back into the system, that was only the first step. The real crisis, the near catastrophe, was what they found hiding in plain sight once they finally got access.
Once they were inside that log, they found the real disaster. These critical MEP and compliance notes were 3 days old and completely buried. A missing ground floor garbage shaft, a missing staircase pre-shaft, no provision for the required water meter room. I mean, these are not minor details. These are grounds for immediate authority rejection. The modeling team had missed them entirely. So, to prevent this kind of near disaster from ever happening again, a simple but completely non-negotiable protocol was established. This is CA004. It's the solution that was born directly from the chaos of Project 359BL. These 3 steps, this is the core of the discipline. First, deselect. You have to treat the log like it's a central model in Revit. Sync and relinquish control. Second, migrate. Unfinished business is never ever left behind. It gets moved to the top of today's list. And third, the binary state. There's no gray area. A task is either done or it's pending and visible to everyone. This is what transforms the log from just a simple notepad into a live data management system.
Okay, so let's see how this protocol actually translates into a daily routine for the whole team, creating the habits that prevent this kind of data burial in the first place.
Look, this checklist isn't about adding more work. It's a simple 5-minute routine at the start of every single day. It's a collective agreement to guarantee a clean, reliable, central source of truth for the project. And it makes sure that the very first thing everyone sees are the most critical pending items. No excuses. And for anyone who thinks this is just, administrative overhead, let's look at the direct, tangible consequences of failure. Let's really quantify the cost of this chaos.
Just imagine the absolute chaos if this one instruction, buried under an old date during that final push, was overlooked by the team.
Right. Had this single instruction, all work to be in Revit file no more AutoCAD, been missed, the chaos would have been exponential.
You would have had Pratik and Juman modeling the 25th and 26th floors in AutoCAD, while Kareem and Abdullah were working on the lower floors in Revit. The file coordination alone would have caused days of rework right before the submission. That's a project killer, plain and simple.
So, the crucial point is this. The choice here isn't between two different workflow styles. It's between a project that runs on clear, live data and one that is absolutely riddled with buried errors and workflow paralysis. It is the difference between meeting your milestones and facing authority rejections and massive project delays.
And really, this isn't just about Project 359BL. It's a question every single collaborative team should be asking themselves at the end of the day. What critical data is buried in your logs right now? And who on your team just accidentally locked everyone else out?